I exposed my fiancé for flirting with other men, then planned a brutal wedding showdown that left her publicly humiliated and begging. All right, boys, gather around because this is going to be one hell of a story. First off, let me introduce myself. I'm a 29-year-old construction site manager. I've been in the industry since I was 20, working my way up from swinging hammers to running multi-million-dollar projects. I'm not the kind of guy who usually posts this relationship drama stuff, but trust me, this is worth your time. Let me paint you a picture of how I met Jessica, my fiancée, 25, female. It was at this fancy gym, downtown gym. You know, one of those places with smoothie bars and yoga studios where a membership costs more than my first car payment. My sister had been bugging me to get out more. Classic, right? So I agreed to try her gym buddy's CrossFit class. That's where I saw her. Jessica was the kind of woman who looked like she walked straight off the cover of a real estate magazine, which, funny enough, she actually had. Picture this, 5'8" brunette, always wearing those high-end workout sets that probably cost more than my weekly protein budget. She was a luxury real estate agent, drove a leased BMW X6, should have been my first red flag, but we'll get to that, and had this way of making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room. Our first interaction was pure Hollywood stuff. I was setting up for deadlifts, finally found a gym that doesn't cry when you drop weights, and she came over to ask if I could check her form. Yeah, looking back, classic move, but at the time I thought I'd hit the jackpot. We got talking and turns out she was my sister's gym buddy's coworker. Small world, right? The first year was, man, I'm almost embarrassed to admit how perfect it seemed. She'd show up at my construction sites with lunch, not just any lunch, but these perfectly packed meals that made my crew jealous. She'd remember everyone's names, bring coffee for the guys, even helped one of my foreman's wives find a great deal on a house. My crew loved her, kept telling me I'd struck gold. We fell into this routine that felt like something out of those relationship goals posts, morning gym sessions. She actually lifted. None of that Instagram model fake workout stuff, weekend trips to check out properties she was selling. Got to combine her work with our time together, and these amazing home-cooked dinners where she'd tell me about her day and actually seemed interested in hearing about my projects. My family, they thought she was the second coming of Martha Stewart or something. My mom, who usually takes years to warm up to anyone I date, was inviting her over for girls' night within months. My sister started calling her the sister she actually wanted, thanks sis. Even my old man, who thinks everyone in real estate is a snake oil salesman, was impressed by her knowledge of construction and property values. She fit into my life so perfectly it was almost scary. When I had to pull late nights at the site, she'd understand, even bring dinner for the whole crew working overtime. When I had to cancel plans because of emergency inspections, no drama, just be safe, babe. She came to every company event, charmed all my colleagues, and somehow remembered all their spouses' names and their kids' ages. Looking back now, I realize she wasn't just fitting into my life. She was studying it, learning every detail, every connection, every relationship, like a contractor surveying a site before building. She was mapping out her territory, and me, I was too blind to see it. I even started planning our future together, started looking at houses we could fix up. I had the construction knowledge, she had the real estate connections. Perfect combo, right? I was checking out rings during lunch breaks. I had this whole proposal plan involving a custom-built pergola at her favorite vineyard. Yeah, I'm a romantic sap when I want to be. The guys at work were all in on it. My crew helped me build the pergola on weekends. Everyone keeping it quiet because Jessica knew everyone in town, and we didn't want the surprise ruined. Even had one of my subcontractors who does high-end woodwork make a custom box for the ring with our initials carved into it. I dropped 3 months' salary on a ring that would make any jeweler proud. 2.5 carat, oval diamond, platinum band, the works, the kind of ring that would make her real estate clients' wives jealous. Because that's what you do when you think you've found the one, right? Go big or go home. You know how in construction we have these safety inspections that seem unnecessary until they save your ass? Well, I wish I'd done a better inspection of my relationship before putting a ring on it. The way I discovered Jessica's true colors was like watching a perfect building collapse in slow motion. And brother, was it a spectacular collapse. It started with my buddy Steve pulling me aside at the gym one morning. Steve's been my spotter since college, the kind of friend who will tell you when your form sucks or when you're being an idiot. And apparently I was being a massive idiot. We were between sets on bench press when he got this serious look on his face. Bro, there's something you need to know about Jessica. he said, looking uncomfortable as hell. My cousin works at River Creek Realty with her. And, man, there's some stuff going on you should hear about. At first I brushed him off, told him people just like to talk when someone's successful. I mean, Jessica was crushing it in real estate. She just closed a $2.8 million deal the week before. But Steve wasn't the type to spread gossip. He pulled out his phone and showed me some Instagram stories I'd never seen. Turned out Jessica had me on her restricted list. Clever girl. There she was at office parties, sitting on clients' laps, doing body shots with married investors. She calls it closing technique, Steve said. The whole office knows about it. They've even got a nickname for her. They call her the closer because she'll do whatever it takes to seal a deal. But here's the thing about denial. It's like using cheap materials on a luxury build. Eventually, everything falls apart. I started noticing things I'd been blind to before. How her client meetings always seemed to run late on days she looked extra hot. How she'd get texts at 2 a.m. that were supposedly urgent property inquiries. How she'd laugh and touch the arm of every guy at my work events, but only when she thought I wasn't looking. One night she was in the shower and her phone kept lighting up with notifications.
I'm not proud of what I did next, but I checked it. Found a group chat called the Luxury Ladies where she and other female agents shared techniques for manipulating male clients. They had a whole point system. Married guys were worth more points, especially if they were high profile or wealthy. But I kept my mouth shut, acted like everything was normal, because I needed more proof. Needed to understand just how deep this rabbit hole went. I started paying closer attention during our site visits. Noticed how she'd always find an excuse to get male clients alone. Oh, let me show you the master suite, or the view from the pool house is amazing. The real kicker came when I was using her laptop to order some construction supplies. She'd insisted I use hers because mine was too slow. A Facebook message popped up from some dude named Brad. Last night was wild. You're something else when you drink. Don't worry, your fiancé will never know about our little office party game. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely scroll through the chat. Turns out, our perfect relationship was about as solid as a house built on quicksand. I found messages to her friends bragging about how she could wrap any man around her finger, and how having a ring makes it more exciting, like stealing what's already taken. She had a whole system. She'd target successful guys, especially ones in relationships. Said they were easier to control because they had more to lose. She'd create private Instagram stories, sharing just enough to make them think they were special, all while keeping me in the dark on her restricted list. The worst part, I found a chat where she was coaching other agents. Always go for the ones with something to lose. Engaged equal to perfect. Married equal to even better. They'll do anything to keep their secrets, and that's how you get those luxury listings. I sat there for hours reading through years of manipulation and lies. Every deal she'd closed, every networking event, every late-night emergency showing. It was all part of her game. She wasn't just flirting for sales. She was running a full-blown operation. And me? I was just another trophy in her collection. The successful contractor she could show off to clients. See, I'm trustworthy. Look at my handsome fiancé who builds luxury homes. Meanwhile, she was playing every angle, manipulating every situation, all while wearing my ring. You know what's funny about managing construction projects? Everyone thinks it's just about building stuff, but it's really about timing. One wrong move in the sequence, and your whole project falls apart. That's exactly how I approached my revenge, like the most important project of my life. I spent 3 sleepless nights after discovering those messages just planning. The old me would have exploded, caused a scene, maybe even confronted Brad. Trust me, I wanted to. But 10 years in construction taught me something valuable. Sometimes you need to demolish a building to make something better. And the best demolitions are always carefully planned. First thing I did, secure my assets. Called my bank, separated our accounts. We'd merged them after the engagement because she insisted it would be easier to track wedding expenses. Changed all my passwords, email, social media, everything. Even put a pause on that custom home design we'd been working on. Told the architect I needed time to review the foundation plans. The irony wasn't lost on me. Then I started gathering intel like I was preparing for the world's most detailed site inspection. Set up a hidden folder on my phone labeled Building Codes 2024. Who would ever check that? And started saving everything. Screenshots, recordings of her bragging at dinner parties, photos from events where she was clearly crossing lines. The kind of documentation that would make OSHA proud. But here's where it gets interesting. Jessica's cousin Rachel was getting married, and Rachel had made Jessica her maid of honor. And this wasn't just any wedding.
We're talking a massive event at Crystal Lake Resort with over 200 guests. More importantly, it was a who's who of Jessica's entire social and professional network. Her boss, major clients, her entire family. Every single person she'd been manipulating and lying to. That's when it hit me. You know how in construction we sometimes have to let a problem get worse before we can fix it properly, like when you find a small crack and have to break open the whole wall to fix the real issue behind it? That's exactly what I needed to do with Jessica's carefully built facade. Instead of confronting her, I started encouraging her behavior. It was like adding pressure to a failing support beam. Eventually, something's going to give. When she'd flirt with clients, I'd say stuff like, "Babe, you're so good at working people." When she'd get too friendly at the gym, I'd actually compliment her networking skills. She thought I was finally understanding her methods. In reality, I was documenting every single overstep. The real genius of my plan came when I discovered her phone's iCloud backup was still linked to our shared tablet, the one she'd forgotten about because she never used it anymore. Every message, every photo, every deleted conversation. It was all there, backing up automatically. It was like finding the architectural plans to a building you're about to take down. I started making strategic moves at work too. Told my crew I was going through some personal stuff, needed their discretion. These guys had seen Jessica bring me lunch, heard her sweet talk, watched her play the perfect fiance. They deserved to know they'd been part of her act. My foreman, Mike, who'd actually recommended Jessica to his brother-in-law for a house purchase, was particularly pissed. "Boss, just tell us what you need. We got your back." 2 weeks before Rachel's wedding, I implemented phase 1, started hyping Jessica up about the event. You know what would be amazing? If you really showed everyone at the wedding how magnetic you are, really let loose. Her eyes lit up like she'd just found a cash buyer for a $10 million listing. She didn't realize I was setting her up to overplay her hand in front of everyone who mattered in her life. I kept feeding her ego. "You're going to be the star of that wedding. Everyone's going to be talking about you." She got so excited she actually said, "Maybe I'll give everyone a show they'll never forget." I had to excuse myself to the bathroom because I couldn't keep a straight face. The irony was just too perfect. In construction, the week before a major demolition is crucial. You've got to check every angle, secure the perimeter, and make sure all your charges are perfectly placed. That's exactly what I did in the week leading up to Rachel's wedding. And let me tell you, this was going to be a demolition for the history books. First thing, I reached out to Rachel. This was tricky because Rachel worshipped the ground Jessica walked on, but I had an ace up my sleeve, or rather, a whole folder of aces. I asked to meet her privately at a coffee shop across town, somewhere Jessica would never go because it wasn't upscale enough for her taste. "Rachel, what I'm about to show you is going to hurt, but you need to see it before your wedding." I handed her my tablet, opened to the folder I'd labeled The Real Jessica. Screenshots of Jessica's messages about using Rachel's wedding to network with wealthy guests, comments about how she'd steal the show from the bride, and, the worst part, messages where Jessica had been hitting on Rachel's fiance Mark months ago, trying to add him to her collection before he was officially off the market. Rachel's face went through every emotion in the book: denial, anger, heartbreak, and finally pure rage. "That manipulative," she whispered, hands shaking. "She's been playing us all." When I showed her the group chats where Jessica bragged about her techniques, Rachel nearly threw up. But here's where Rachel surprised me. Instead of causing a scene or canceling Jessica's role in the wedding, she got this look in her eye that I recognized from looking in the mirror. "You have a plan, don't you?" she asked. When I nodded, she leaned forward. "I want in." Over the next few days, we orchestrated everything like a perfectly planned construction project. Rachel kept Jessica busy with maid of honor duties while I worked behind the scenes. We got in touch with key players. The wedding photographer, who agreed to be accidentally recording during crucial moments. The DJ, more than happy to play certain songs at specific times. Even Father Michael, the priest performing the ceremony. The real masterstroke came when Rachel's brother Tom, who worked at a rival real estate agency, helped us contact some of Jessica's special clients. Turns out a lot of wives had been suspicious of their husband's real estate agent, but no one had been able to prove anything. Until now. I spent hours compiling evidence, organizing it like project documentation. Created a WhatsApp group called Wedding Security that included Rachel, her fiancé Mark, key wedding party members, and a few chosen guests who'd been affected by Jessica's games. Each person had a role, and each had seen proof firsthand. 3 days before the wedding, I implemented the final phase of prep, started really laying it on thick with Jessica. Babe, you should wear that red dress to the rehearsal dinner. You know, the one that makes all the guys stare. She ate it up, not realizing she was walking into a trap. You're going to be the most talked about person at this wedding, I told her. Man, she had no idea how right I was. The night before the wedding, Jessica was practically vibrating with excitement. She'd spent 3 hours practicing her candid poses in the mirror, picked out what she called her scene, stealing outfit for the reception, and even prepared what she thought would be a spontaneous speech. All while Rachel and I watched like contractors observing a building's final moments before demolition. You know what would be amazing, I suggested, playing my part perfectly. If you did something really memorable at the reception, something that would make everyone realize just how special you are. Jessica's eyes lit up like she'd just listed a $50 million property. Maybe I'll give them all a show they'll never forget, she said, smirking at her reflection. Rachel, who was in on everything by this point, even played along. Oh my God, Jess, you have to. You always know how to make things more exciting. The look they shared, Rachel's hidden disgust versus Jessica's oblivious pride, was almost poetic. That night, I sent one final message to our wedding security group. All charges set. Demolition scheduled for reception. Everyone know their positions? The responses came in one by one, everyone confirming they were ready. Rachel's last text said it all. Let's bring down the house. You know that moment on a construction site right before a controlled demolition. That eerie calm where everyone's in position, waiting for the first charge to go off? That's exactly what the morning of Rachel's wedding felt like. Jessica woke up like it was her own wedding day, completely oblivious to the fact that she was about to become ground zero of the biggest explosion of her life. I watched her spend 3 hours getting ready, meticulously crafting what she called her scene-stealing look. She'd chosen this tight blue dress that definitely wasn't appropriate for a wedding, especially not for the maid of honor. The photographer won't be able to keep his lens off me, she bragged while doing her makeup. Rachel, getting ready in the same suite, caught my eye in the mirror and gave me the tiniest nod. The photographer was definitely going to be paying attention, just not for the reason Jessica thought. The ceremony itself was like watching a predator stalk their prey, except Jessica didn't realize she was actually the prey. She spent the entire time trying to make eye contact with every groomsman, doing this little hair flip thing she'd obviously practiced. During the vows, I swear to God, she was posing like she was at a photo shoot. Father Michael, who we'd briefed, kept giving her disappointed looks that would have made the Pope himself feel guilty, but Jessica was too busy playing her game to notice the trap closing in. During ceremony photos, she kept finding ways to press herself against the groomsmen, especially Mark's brother James. What she didn't know was that James's wife Sarah was documenting every single accidental touch with her phone. Sarah, by the way, was one of Jessica's real estate clients, whose husband she'd tried to collect last month. The real show started at the reception. Man, if you guys could have seen the setup at Crystal Lake Resort. The ballroom had massive screens for wedding photos, a state-of-the-art sound system, and the perfect stage for what was about to go down. Jessica was working the room like a contractor at a luxury home showcase, flirting with every guy in sight, completely unaware that every interaction was being recorded, photographed, or witnessed by someone in on our plan. She'd gotten progressively bolder throughout the day, fueled by champagne and what she thought was everyone's admiration. During dinner, she actually sat in the best man's lap while asking him to practice for her speech, right in front of his pregnant wife. The best man Dave played along perfectly, pretending to be flustered while his wife Amy secretly recorded everything. Then came the moment Jessica had been waiting for. She stood up, champagne glass in hand, ready to give her spontaneous speech. The DJ, right on cue, turned down the music. The photographer positioned himself perfectly. The videographer, who we'd tipped extra for this, made sure to get a wide shot that included all the screens around the ballroom. Everyone, can I have your attention? Jessica's voice dripped with fake sweetness. I just want to say something about love and attraction. She started this rambling speech about how weddings make everyone feel sexy and flirty, how it's natural to have wedding crushes. The room was dead silent, but she mistook it for captivation. That's when Rachel stood up, exactly as planned. Hey Jess, since you're talking about attraction, why don't we show everyone some of your other thoughts on the subject? The color drained from Jessica's face as the screens around the ballroom suddenly came to life. There they were, screenshots of her messages, photos from her private Instagram stories, everything. Messages about how she loved targeting married men because they were easier to control. Photos of her getting way too close with clients' husbands. Her bragging about how she used our engagement to seem more trustworthy to potential targets. But the real kicker, a video compilation, made of just that day. Every inappropriate touch, every suggestive comment, every accidental brush against a groomsman. All set to Somebody's Watching Me by Rockwell. Whoever edited that deserves an Oscar, seriously. Jessica stood there frozen as her entire carefully constructed world crumbled around her. Her boss, sitting at table 4, was watching with his mouth open. The wives of all her special clients were whispering and pointing. Her parents looked like they were about to disown her on the spot. Ever seen a building collapse in real time? There's this moment right after the charges go off but before everything falls. This split second of absolute stillness where you can almost see the structure realizing it's done for. That's exactly what happened with Jessica. For about 10 seconds after the screens lit up, she just stood there, champagne glass frozen halfway to her mouth, staring at her own messages being displayed in 4K resolution for everyone to see. The message currently on screen was particularly damning. OMG, just closed another deal. Marriage is the perfect cover. These rich married guys never suspect their happily engaged agent is playing them. Then, like a poorly built structure finally giving in to gravity, she cracked. This isn't, turn IT off. Her voice went from sweet wedding speech to banshee screech in 2 seconds flat, but nobody moved. The DJ, following our carefully planned script, just turned the volume up instead. Now playing on screen, Jessica practically sitting in the lap of Mr. Anderson, one of her biggest clients, while his wife was in the bathroom. Fun fact, Mrs. Anderson was sitting at table 7, and the look on her face could have stripped paint off walls. Next clip, Jessica accidentally dropping her phone and bending over in front of Dr. Mitchell at a house showing last month. Dr. Mitchell's wife, a prominent divorce attorney, oh the irony, was taking very interested notes. Jessica tried to grab the microphone again, but Rachel smoothly took it away. What's wrong, Jess? I thought you wanted to be the center of attention. The fact that Rachel delivered this line perfectly, exactly as we'd rehearsed, almost made me lose it. The crowd let out this collective ooh you usually only hear in movies. That's when Jessica made her fatal mistake. She tried to play the victim. This is all fake. Someone's trying to ruin my reputation. They've edited these photos and messages. Big mistake. Huge. Remember Brad from her office? The one who sent those messages about their wild night? He was sitting at table 12 with his girlfriend. He stood up, phone in hand. Really? So I didn't get this message from you last week? He started reading aloud. Brad, last night was amazing, can't wait for our next private showing. The floodgates opened. Suddenly, everyone had a Jessica story to share. Mr. Peterson from table 3, is that why you insisted on showing me that basement alone? Mrs. Davidson, one of her fellow agents, so that's why you borrowed my laptop at the office party. Even the bartender chimed in. I knew those weren't business meetings at the hotel bar. Jessica's face went through more colors than a paint sample board. She tried to run for the door, but her heel caught in her too tight dress, the one she'd specifically chosen to steal the show, and she stumbled. The DJ, proving he deserved every penny of his bonus, started playing another one, Bites the Dust. Her mom got up and walked out without even looking at her. Her dad just kept shaking his head, muttering something that looked like I didn't raise her like this. Her boss, Mr. Thompson, was already on his phone, probably calling HR. I could practically see her real estate license spontaneously combusting. But the best part, the absolute cherry on top of this revenge Sunday, Jessica's phone started blowing up right there in the middle of her meltdown. Turns out someone, definitely not me, definitely not Rachel, definitely not the entire wedding party who had access to Jessica's contact list, had mass texted links to the evidence to literally everyone in her professional network. The next 15 minutes were pure chaos. Jessica tried to delete her social media, but screenshots are forever. She tried to call her special clients to explain, but their wives had mysteriously gotten hold of their phones. She even tried to blame it all on me, screaming about how I was just jealous of her success. That's when I finally spoke up. Success at what, exactly? Manipulating married men? Using our engagement as bait? Please enlighten everyone. The room went so quiet you could hear a contract drop. After her meltdown at the wedding, she tried damage control, like a contractor trying to fix a collapsed foundation with duct tape. First came the mass emails to her client list. There's been a misunderstanding. Nobody bought it. Turns out wives who've watched video evidence of you hitting on their husbands aren't interested in your explanation. Her real estate agency didn't even wait until Monday. Mr. Thompson pulled me aside before leaving the wedding. I always wondered how she closed those impossible deals, he said, looking sick. HR will handle this first thing tomorrow. By 9 a.m. The next day, Jessica's agency bio had vanished from their website faster than tools from an unsecured construction site. But here's where it gets good. Remember how Jessica loved posting those luxury lifestyle photos on Instagram? Well, her social media empire imploded spectacularly. Someone, definitely not Rachel's tech-savvy brother, had compiled all her networking technique messages into a Twitter thread that went viral in the local real estate community. Luxury Lady Exposed was trending in our city by Sunday night. The next week was like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. Her special clients suddenly needed new agents. Their wives, oddly enough, all seemed to hire the same divorce attorney, Mrs. Mitchell from Table 7. I heard she had her most profitable quarter ever. Jessica's fancy BMW, repossessed by Tuesday. Turns out when you lose your job and your supplementary income from manipulating clients, those luxury car payments become tricky. Her apartment complex, where she'd gotten a special rate from the married property manager, suddenly remembered her lease was up for review. But the real karma came from the professional fallout. Real estate is all about reputation, and Jessica's was now radioactive. She tried applying at other agencies, but that wedding video had made the rounds. One broker told her straight up, "We're not in the business of housing homewreckers." She showed up at my construction site 2 weeks later, looking nothing like the polished predator she'd been before. No more designer outfits, just jeans and a hoodie, like she was trying to blend in with the drywall. Security spotted her before she got close. "Told you my crew had my back." "You ruined my life," she screamed across the parking lot. "I lost everything because of you." I walked over, keeping a safe distance because she looked unhinged enough to throw something. "No, Jessica. You lost everything because of you. I just helped everyone see who you really are." That's when she tried her last play. Crocodile tears. "I didn't mean for it to go so far. I just got caught up in the game. We can fix this, babe. I've changed." I looked at her, then at the half-finished luxury condo behind me. You know what we do when we find out a building's foundation is rotten? We don't try to fix it. We tear it down and start over, but not with the same materials that failed the first time. She sent me a novel-length text later that night. "You have no idea what you've done. I'm living with my parents. My friends won't talk to me. Every agency in the state knows about the video. I can't even get a job showing apartments. I had a plan for my life." I just replied, "Guess you should have planned better foundations." Then I blocked her number, deleted her email, and went back to building actual things that last. Epilogue. It's been 6 months. Last I heard, Jessica's working as a clerk at her uncle's hardware store in another state. The irony of her selling construction supplies isn't lost on me. Rachel's wedding video, minus the Jessica exposure part, turned out beautiful. My company just landed our biggest project yet, a luxury development by the lake. And I'm dating a structural engineer who actually understands the importance of solid foundations, both in buildings and relationships. The ring? Sold it and bought a new truck. Because sometimes the best way to rebuild is to start with better materials.